this general area. So we're going to go ahead and cut this. You know, in general, he's not going to be in this area because there are no planets in this system unless he's saved some kind of a safe or something. So you can cut this in half, and as you can see, the stiletto is still on scan. To just narrow it down really quickly, I usually go down to a lower degree setting, a little bit more pinpoint. Hold your V key, hold V on your keypad. That's your hotkey for this, and you click on any item. And your scanner will directly go to that area. I should be streaming. Oh, I thought I was streaming for y'all already. My error. All right, so hitting your V key, you're going to go ahead and search around the planets. Say, you know, you're going to check these different planets. Yep. And there he is. He's on this location, right? I know it's on one of these, somewhere in this area. And I reduce my my range, and he's not on planet 2. He's definitely not with me on planet 4, so he's got to be on planet 3. You know he's on planet 3. You know he's right close there. You got your Poco on D-scan, right? Your planetary interaction. You got that on D-scan. You got a stiletto on D-scan. So what you want to do is you're going to launch your scan probe, and he's on D-scan from you now. Set it to 2 AU or 1 AU. You're going to hit your analyze. So you got the interceptor on scan now. Now he's at 66.8%. You lower your distance and you scan again. And this is where having skills is going to come into play. Oh, actually, I got him. I got him. All right, so I guess my scan strength is enough to find him. And in a combat vessel, you're gonna, if you're relatively certain where he is, you're gonna warp to him at 0 and engage. Actually, Derek, I was able to get you with that.
Yeah, I noticed. I was thinking core probe strength. Core probes are usually about 150-ish. Combat, you put them around 60 to 50, and you can do it.
Basically, this becomes significantly harder if your skills aren't the highest. It probably got him because I have a ship with all these implants and everything else, with all the upgrades. But in general, that's how you combat scan. Remember, you want to de-scan and figure out their location first before you ever warp to it. And the idea is that you're gonna have your combat probes on D-scan for him for as short a period of time as possible. We're gonna demonstrate that again and go a little faster with it. Derek, just warp to say planet. I don't know. Go to planet 5. You can monitor movement this way by directional scanning. When he warps off, he will no longer be on direct D-scan for that world. Oh, I know he's gone. So as a hunter, what you're going to do is you're going to start searching around. Where did he go? It's not there. What I generally do is I drag back out to 360 degrees. I see what range he's at. You'll see I see he's still on scan at this range. I lower my range. He's not on scan anymore, so I know he's still roughly in the same area. So I go back to here. I go back to a more pinpoint directional scanner, and I start hitting V and searching the system. Oh, and look at that, I found him. I know he's either on planet 1, the sun, or planet 5 here. So I'm going to lower, I'm going to make my, going to get a lower degree, just even fewer degrees. and I see that he's still on this planet. So now I've eliminated the sun and planet 1. So I know he's now on planet 5. We're going to go over this and do this a little faster this time. Probably should have gone to 1 AU as the first off in the first place. But generally, what I like to do is I like to go a little bit bigger than bigger than normal, because what a lot of people do is they'll set a safe right off that world. Draw your probes in and warp to them if you're trying to tackle that kind of thing. Now, a lot of wormholers will be descanned and they'll notice your probes and you'll lose them anyway, but sometimes you get it in between people's scans. Some people won't scan, like maybe they hit it once every minute. If he hits it once every minute, he'll have missed me there roughly. He'll probably have missed my probes. And then as you see, I land on him here. I can target and tackle, do whatever I need to do. And if he's bigger than me, maybe he has me, and you lose your ship that day. But either way, same stuff. All right. When it comes to this in general, what I want to demonstrate one more thing for y'all with the combat scanner. If you want to get a quick overview of your system, this is pretty much what you're going to be looking for. And don't forget that some people do set safes. So if you have a safe, what you can do is, say he has a safe somewhere in this area, right? Between the sun and planet 4. You can put your pinpoint formation in that area, widen it up. You know he's somewhere there. You start narrowing it down and trying to figure it out. This takes a lot more time, especially if it's at a safe, but I've combat scanned people with just this method before. You can generally find the area of their safe. You may have to start a little larger on your combat scanner, so it'll take you more time, but it can be done there as well. All right. That pretty much covers combat scanning, except for, yeah, there's one more last thing I want to show y'all. We're going to draw this out to 8 AU and demonstrate. So 16 AU, we got the entire system covered. But if we were doing a pinpoint formation, that same 16 AU covers nowhere near the same distance. All of this will barely even give you any information about enemy ships or anything else that might be out there. You turn that into your spread formation, hit your analyze button, you can get a good overview of the entire system. So now you know you got 2 ships in system, 2 ships, Stiletto and something else. All right. But most of the time you will be using the pinpoint formation as demonstrated. And that closes out combat scanning. All right, Spencer, what do you think about that? There's a lot more to scanning, but I just covered the meat and potatoes that most people need to know for a new bro just to digest quickly. They can at least, seeing that, they can at least go into a wormhole and find signatures and find their way out. If you want me to, I can do a video on wormhole colors. Now would actually be a great time to demonstrate that. Yeah, wormhole colors tell you a lot of stuff. I'll shoot one real quick for you. It's gonna be kind of impromptu. Hey Derek, I appreciate it, brother. If you want to hang out, feel free to dump any info you have.
No worries. Wormhole color. refers to the class of wormhole.
Yep.
So a C1 or a C6, there's a major difference. C6s are going to be capital size. Typically, C1s you can't get anything larger than a medium into, usually. Medium-sized ship, that is.
And we're going to demonstrate some of that right now, because in our chain right now, we have an 05, we have a 5, a C5. We're going to warp to that, see what a C5 looks like. And I feel pretty comfortable in my own home, so well, it's still here. So I'm not warping around cloaked as I normally would. And remember, if you land at, if you're using a lot of cloaks in wormhole space, you'll do what I did right there and land at 0. You will decloak on anything that gets within 2,500 meters. All right, so this is a C5 wormhole. It's a high-class wormhole. The only thing larger than this will be a C6. The C5 is very, very identifiable. Gold glow. And what looks like clouds in the middle with the bright sun over here. That's going to be what your C5 looks like. You can see the nebula. The C5, all the C5s are around the same nebula, just like the C4s and C2s and so on and so forth. You can tell the difference. All right, let's warp to say an 04, a C4.
Did you like view it and then circle around it, so drag the camera in circles around the hole?
Oh yeah, like I showed how it
C3
changes.
will be the hardest one to tell, just because there's very little red there. But when you swing the camera around in a 360, you'll see a spot where you'll see like a squiggly red line.
Let's demonstrate his point right now. Actually, let's go to this C3. This time we're going to stay cloaked, as a good wormholer always should be, if he can help it.
Unless you're bait.
That's true. Bait is good. This is the C3, exactly what it's talking about. Like, we approached it, we can see the red in it right here. You see, at this angle, you really can't see that. That's what Derek's talking about. Now you can. Now you really can't that easily, but in general, that's going to be your C3 identifier. It's that little red strip right there. Now let's take a look at a C4. All right, this is your C4. C4 is going to look a little different than the C3 or the C5. As you can see, it's somewhat similar to the C3. You got a lot more white in your aura. You've got this general maroon.
The white in the aura disseminates what size ship can fly through it. The white means a large or up to 100, I think it's 300 kilogram mass ship can pass through it.
Exactly.
If it's blue, it means it's medium sized. And I think is it what, white blue? It would be small. No, blue is frigate size.
Oh, blue is frigate size. So here, the white I've been really talking about here is in the middle. It's very similar to what Derek was pointing out with the C3. At some angles, you really have a hard time seeing it. Like if you looked at it from this angle, you're not really going to see that white strip. Here, you have a real hard time seeing it. But if you go to the right size, you see the whitish nebula in the middle with a lot of maroon around the outsides. That'll pretty much tell you that's a C4. All right, let's go to HiSec. And this one we're going to land at 0 on. If you're going to HiSec and you're scanning and you really want to get out of the system, one of the safest places you can be is sitting on the HiSec at 0, because if anything fucks with you, you can basically just jump out. Excuse my language to your new bros. But when you land on a HiSec wormhole, low sec wormhole, it'll have the color of the area that it's from. Like all Caldari areas have blue, although it's different shades of blue will change based on region. The color of the HiSec holes will change based on region. But in general, if it's a blue hole, you know it's Jita. it's a greenish hole, you know it's Galante. If it's a golden hole, you know it's a Mar. It's a red hole, you know it's Mimitar. Although there are areas like Minmar space, the crossover between Caldari and Mimitar space, so on and so forth, they'll kind of have a mixed color, and it gets a little harder to tell. But in general, when you see one of these oddly colored wormholes that aren't like what we demonstrated earlier, you know it's going to be a high sec. And when it comes to these wormholes, go ahead, or low sec,
or known space, because low sec will also have the same type of coloring, but it'll just be relative to whatever region is there.
Exactly. One of these things, one of the best things you can do in wormhole space is check here at your show information on the wormhole. Each one of these lines in here tells you something different. This one says an unstable wormhole deep in space. Wormholes this kind usually collapse after a few days and can lead to anywhere. That's your general description. All right, so this one is one that's most important. Just tells you where it goes. This leads to high security space. The next one is this wormhole is beginning to decay and probably won't last another day. When the hole becomes EOL, that's end of life, it becomes very, very wobbly, and it's visually wobbly on your screen. And this line will change, basically telling you that this hole is, and at the end, the reason we call it EOL, end of life, is at the end of this phrase will change, and at the end it'll say this hole is at its end of life. It's near its end of life. So that's why we call it EOL. This wormhole, and the next line is the also very important one. This wormhole has not yet had its stability significantly disrupted by ships passing through it. This means that it is what we call quote unquote stage one. Basically, there's not been a whole lot of mass put on this hole at all. There are 3 stages to the wormhole. Stage 1, where basically it's fresh, nothing's really going through it. It's got most of its mass left on it, and it's nowhere near collapsing. All right, then you have stage 2, which basically means that about half of its mass is gone, or roughly half of its mass is gone, significant portion, and it's weakening. And the final one is it'll say this wormhole is verge of collapse. That means the wormhole could collapse with different items put through it. Oh, I had an activation. That's another thing. On comms, you can hear that activation, that whoom sound. That means somebody just jumped. Since I didn't see anybody land, and it was one of my guys, Derek and a Hugin. Derek just jumped through and tackled me. And what I can do if he starts hitting, click here, and I can escape. But when you see that boom, you see that ring come out from the wormhole, and you hear that activation noise, it lets you know somebody just moved through the hole. If you're a wormholer, it's one of the most important things you can do is be close to the hole and have your audio up so you can hear those activations on, say, a scout alt. All right, so let's demonstrate on another hole. Let's demonstrate on the 5. I'm going to show you how these descriptions change. And there's a lot more to wormhole space than this. I'm just giving y'all a rough overview tonight, some meat and potato stuff, so you can actually just go into wormhole and function decently well enough. All right, so here is what I'm talking about. This hole is EOL. You can visually see it's wobbling around. It looks unstable. Show info on. All right, so this one says this wormhole leads to dangerous unknown parts of space. When you see that one, dangerous, right, in front of unknown parts of space. Unknown parts of space just means that this is a wormhole that goes to another wormhole system. Dangerous unknown indicates a C4 to a C5 space. This operative word will change based on the type of wormhole you're looking at. If you're looking at a C6, it'll say deadly. If you're looking at C3 and below, this word will be gone completely. This adjective will be gone completely, and you'll just be left with unknown parts of space. As you can see, this hole is EOL. It's what I was talking about earlier. It's unstable. It's ready to die. And remember the previous one said, you know, this hole will probably last another day or whatever. This one says this hole is reaching the end of its natural lifetime, EOL. All right. And this one is also stage 1. That's just going to demonstrate to you the differences, how important that information is for operating in wormhole space, and a little bit about your colors. I know people in game that can literally look at a high sec or low sec wormhole and identify the region it's from by its color, but I'm not that good yet.
You want to demonstrate a roll?
Yeah, let's go ahead and we'll stop this video and start another one. Demonstrate a roll.
If you guys want to see it, Spencer, it's up to you as well. Yes.
Yep, that's a Caldari hole that Highsec is.
Sorry, can't talk. We roll our holes a lot so that we can go to where we need to go. Typically, Caldari space, just because it's the biggest hub there is. A lot of guys run incursions out of a Mars space and so forth. So we'll roll to there sometimes. It's a great way to get around Eve whenever you need to get somewhere. If you've got a timer, for example, in Sync Liaison, and you're all out in kind of prime, you can jump into a hole that has a static, which is it'll always have a connection to that area, high sec, low sec, null sec, whatever it is, and you can roll it until you get to a better location.
Docking request denied.
All right, y'all ready? You want to demonstrate the next one? Do you have video streaming on your computer, Derek?
I have no idea if it'll work, but I can try. I've never used streaming with Discord.
I can watch. Well, you can stream off Discord, or we can demonstrate. I'll sit here and watch you put the rollers through there.
You wanted to roll the high sec? You want to roll our 04?
Let's do the 04. It's not that we probably need to get rid of that chain anyway. Make sure nobody minds.
Julian's having issues, it looks like. Yes, I love lava planets. Storm ones are my second favorite. Yes, I can hear you. Sorry. Trying to figure out what's going on with Julian.
Hey guys,
There you go.
I'm having issues connecting to Discord from my computer for some reason.
Does that sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with this thing.
You set free move in the fleet there, didn't you?
Free move a set, free move a set.
Cool. Spencer, I'd mark yourself exempt from fleet warp. I don't think you want to go to the 05 unless you want to.
I just hold up for a second. Let me see if I can get connected because I don't want to have to voice dub this later. It's a pain in the ass. Just give me 1 second. Alright. I don't know what's going on with my crap. This is annoying. I don't know what's going on. This thing is, I can't even connect to my voice comms in Discord. On my PC, I can do stuff fine on my phone. I don't get it. You still there?
Yeah, I am. Spencer went to the restroom.
Okay, I just don't know if anybody can actually hear me. This thing's acting weird. Maybe it's because I saw a bunch of stuff. I don't know.
I don't think so. It just happens like that sometimes where you just, like the other day we were all talking and I disconnected from Discord. I couldn't connect to anything.
All right, so here we are. We're going to look for our friend Derek and his. I'm going to try it again. Give me a sec.
What was that, dude?
Yeah, I'm just going to try to reconnect to my phone's Wi-Fi. Alright, it's still doing dumb shit.
Did you try closing that Discord completely?
Yep, I completely logged out and logged back in. Still didn't change. Logged out, changed my internet connection as well to my phone's hotspot. Still not doing it.
That is very weird. Did you reboot your PC?
I'm about to try it. I don't really want to, but I'm about to have to try that if it doesn't itself out soon. I just want to get this rolling video done. Let's try this again.
Welcome back.
Discord's just being retarded.
Docking request denied.
I have it open on my phone as well. Let me see if I need to log out on my phone. Give me
You know,
one
that could
second.
be it. 'Cause I typically have it open on my phone as well. I don't really open it, but it's connected, I guess, in standby mode or whatever.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, so let's do this. Let me go all back in. All right, I'm getting logged in. All right, I'm getting logged in. You're joining a fleet. We'll do this. You want to do one on Roland, right? Derek, can you invite me to fleet, bro?
Yeah. Is the advert not up? Here, I'm just gonna create advert, and it's up. I don't see you. There you are. Maybe.
I'm joining already.
Right.
Yeah. I'm going to get my roller and come out there. Tempests, for the most part.
Well, everyone has their flavor, but our alliance typically runs Tempests with a specific fit. I'm a special snowflake. I like to use my Megathron still, but that's because, well, if how they met me was I decided to screw with them on Wormhole with a bunch of battleships.
On top of that, Derek usually rolls, if he is rage rolling the Hazak or something, he's rage rolling with his Megathrons, and the main reason we run Tempest and we run a specific fit of Tempest is because so people can run around and they can basically swap the Tempest out, one on top of the other. Or we don't have this one person like, well, I fly Praxis, so I know I fly. That's all the only roller I can fly. You have somebody else is like, well, I roll in a Raven, or I roll in a Tempest, or I roll in this or that, and then nobody has the skills for the same ship, So if it comes down to like wormhole defenses, it goes down to the thing you asked me about originally, which is hull control. We want everybody to be able to fly the same ship in the same fit, so that anybody can roll, and that everybody's rollers matches everybody else's, so that we can A, be faster with rolling, and B, more coordinated. But Derek has, since he rolls by himself, I don't really have an issue with him using the Megathrons for like casual rolling. But if it ever comes down to like a war and we're having to take like solid hull control, if he's not rolling by himself, we're going to be rolling with the Tempests. The reason I favor the Tempest. What's that?
Not really. It's more the aspect that we're trying to get rid of the hull as fast as possible. We only had like one or two Tempests, and when you jump a lot of times through wormholes, you're going to get polarized, and so it's easier to eject out of your ship and let the next pilot board it. And you'd rather not have modules go offline that I can use on all of my characters, but say for example Julian doesn't have I don't know, Smart Bombs 5 or whatever it is. He won't get that module then turn off, and that's a capacitor hit on it later on. The fits are all going to be mostly built for tank, neuting, and MJD to get out, or a cloak with probes, because eventually you're going to roll yourself out of the hole that you want to be in.
Hey, Derek, can you stream on here?
So I'm about to find out.
I'm wondering if I should shoot a video here or shoot a video later.
Do it later whenever you're not gonna have to worry about screw ups. Like, we don't know how much mass is on this hole.
That's a good point. Spencer, you can watch him here and see how fast it goes. Like, the Megas are slower than the Tempest, but because he has 4 rollers, it goes a lot faster.
I got 6.
6 rollers, yeah.
These 4 of these are combat fit, and 2 of them are roll fit, which means they have Higgs rigs, and all that does is increase their mass. So I'm just going to go in casual first. It depends. For me, I have a method where 4 go in cold, so no prop mods, and then the 2 rollers are going to go in hot. And what that does, it allows me to determine where the hole is with mass, because I know exactly how much everything weighs. So, go ahead. Sometimes. It depends again. What I do normally, since I have 6, and I'm a special snowflake. My combats will go in cold, so I know for a fact they put in 400,000. My rollers are going to go in hot. That means they put in 600,000, because when they're hot, they have 300k is their mass. And what that'll tell me is I've now put 1 million mass into the hole. And if it goes to stage 2, that means the hole is either staged, it's a normal sized or it's an undersized. And that I will bring back all my, all my combat ships. So the 100 kilogram mass ones, I'll bring them back cold, because that's another 400k. and then I can bring back both of my my rollers hot, because that'll be 300k. We'll put the hole at 800 mass, and then that last 300k will pop it no matter what. It's really hard to explain how I do it, but it's very similar where if you just brought in a single roller and were to jump back and forth and count the mass. I'm just doing it with all 6 at once.
There's quite a bit of math involved.
Not as much as you would think, though. I mean, if you think, so if I jump everything in at once, which, hang on, I think it just jumps.
And it's a 2 million mass hole, so.
Okay, so I don't think there's been anything put on this. Correct.
That is correct.
You can also tell by the identifiers, since this is our static, it's a Y683 or 863, whatever it is. A Y683. Yeah.
Yeah, you hit show info, it's Y683, right? That actually tells you a lot about the wormhole as well. I forgot to mention that, but it's more advanced stuff.
Yeah, there's other wormholes that you're going to see that are called K162s, and what that is that's the opposite side of the wormhole. And the only way you're going to be able to tell is if you show info and you look at it.
K162s are stuff to be worried about, because that means somebody, if you see a K162 on your side, that means somebody rolled into you.
Or just a static popped.
Well, yeah, or static from somewhere else, which can be a real problem if you're on like a secure op. Then all of a sudden you get a new signature and it's a K162. That means somebody's looking at your hole, more than likely. If you're on a secure op, yes. In general, though, not really, because like these C5s and stuff in here, like if you have a C5 that has a C2 static, and we got a K162, that's not a big deal. If we're not running a secure op, it's not really a big deal at all. But if you're running like a place where you really want hole control, because that's what you were asking me about. Yeah, if you're trying to run a hole where you really want that hole locked down where nobody comes in, and you want to maintain good hole control, and then you get a K162 in your hole, it can really fuck up your day. Because I mean, somebody's seen you, and if that somebody is hostile, then you have problems. That happened to us on a recent op. We were securing this place to kill this structure, and people ran hole control for days, right? They ran hole control for like 3 days. And then one of our guys, he was up late. He was up to like 4 o'clock in the morning. And he's like, oh, you know what? I'm really tired. Nothing's happened. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get me a few hours of sleep and wake back up. He slept. He fell asleep at 4 o'clock. He woke back up at 8 o'clock, and there was a K162 into the hole, and hole control had gotten in. The hole control organization, the PvP organization, had gotten into our secure hole. And we ended up driving him out of the hole, and we won. And we drove him out of the hole, and we took all the loot and everything else. But it was a fucking headache, because for about 4 hours, we fought them and/or tried to maintain hole control for 4 hours. We lost some rollers, we lost some other ships. It was a tough one.
So this did not go VOC. I think this was an oversized hole, and this is the only time where I would have run everything hot coming back. It should go VOC with that guy jumping in. Yep, there it is. So I'm gonna have to go grab my hick to get rid of this.
And that's another aspect of rolling. Like if you somehow the mass is offered, like you said, it's an oversized hole, you can have special types of ships on standby, like heavy interdiction cruisers or like industrial ships fit with Higgs rigs that are smaller mass than battleships, and they can roll the hole where a battleship would close it.
Yeah, we can. Actually, we may as well leave this one critical if no one's going to use it tonight. That'll let us roll it whenever we want tomorrow. You know, we're the ones rolling it.
Exactly. I just added the bookmark to say crit.
Okay. Well, that was a bad example of rolling a hole. Not really, actually, because what I did before, since I jumped in my combats first, I knew I put in 400k, and then I brought back one of them by mistake. But that one put it at 500. I jumped in a one of my heavy rollers that put 300 on there. So now I'm at 800K. It didn't go to stage 2. And then I jumped in my next roller, and that did make it go to stage 2. So I had 1.1 million grams of mass put on it. And when it went to stage 2, you know you're going to have, at that point, I know it's at least a normal sized or an oversized. And what that means is the wormholes have a 15% variance in how much mass they can have at the spawn point. So if it spawns as an undersized, it'll have 1.8 million mass can go through it with a 15% variance on that. So you can see how that can range from anywhere from 1.65 all the way up to 1.685 all the way up to 1.95 million. It varies, but I mean those little things are like it's frustrating because it's just a variance and it's random. If it's a normal hole, it starts with a base number of 2 million mass, and if it's 2 million mass, you can put a roller through it. Was that 10 times? No, because that's 300K. So that'd be hot, cold, or cold, hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, and that would close it. So that ended up being, that puts it at 2.1, and it'll collapse at that point. And then if it's a oversized, it'll be 1.2 million or 2.2 million mass, and then that'll be 15% variance. And that's where occasionally, if you go everything hot, when you come back on that last one, it could be VOC, which is verge of collapse or critical, however people talk about it. And you'd want to get a hick or a sigil or something. If you don't have a hick, because that's a very specialized and very skill-intensive ship, a very cheap sigil with the MWD running that you have no problem suiciding can just jump in and blow itself up on the other side, or it could scan itself out if you wanted to do it that way. I personally have used thoraxes fit with ancillary current routers and a 100 MN and a Higgs, and that usually pops a hole as well whenever I didn't have a hick. If I'm going over your head or talking about too much, just tell me to shut up. It seems a lot more complicated, or just a lot more intensive than it was since when I started doing it. I have a little notepad that breaks down how I jump all my ships through, and then I can so the first jump pass tells me what I should look for, if it went stage 2 or not. And then if it went stage 2, then my second jump pass is always the same, where everything comes back hot.
Gonna be a little out of it. I'm trying to comfort a baby.
Yeah. You want to get some sleep tonight.
Oh, I know. He's fighting going to sleep, dude. It's fucking, I'm just like, go to sleep, please. But if I had more people on, I think it'd be easier to demonstrate the role, because I want to be in it so they can see it from the pilot's perspective.
Well, you could be in it. I won't jump one of my rollers through, and you'll be that roller.
Sounds like a plan.
So TTG is actually a unknown mass went through it. There was at least 8 battleships that went through it. 2 Nestors and 6 Leshaks earlier. So Leshaks are 100. No, I think they're 85. Nope, a Leshak is 78 million kilograms. That's the mass of a Leshak.
Sure, let's do it that way. Let's do that. Let's do the roller video real quick. Well, let's see if Nova can stay calm for a minute. Y'all probably don't want to use screaming baby in the background of your video. Or since I'm holding him, he'll be in the foreground. All right, what hole do you want to roll?
We can get rid of one that we have an unknown mass on. Kind of demonstrate how that would work.
Sure. Can you do most of the speech in the video just to avoid Nova like getting in on it?
Yeah, sure.
All right, just tell me what to do. I'll stream the Discord and record, and Derek will do the instruction side. All right, I'm gonna start recording. Yep, does.
All right, warping the fleet to 05B. It's TTG as the signature. So good practice whenever you're rolling an unknown hole is to jump in a scout, have eyes on the other side just so you have an idea of what's there before you jump. Not always possible, but it should be. I mean, if you've got a scanner, put them in there. So I jumped in a stereo in. There's nothing in here. Nothing on D-scan. System is a large system, so I won't be able to see 100% of it, but I can see about 90% of the system on my 14AU scan. I think we can both stream.
I've got a stream going.
So we don't know how much mass is going through this right now, or been through this, I should say. We have an idea. I saw 6 Leshaks and 2 Nesters earlier, and Leshaks weigh about 80,000 or 80 million kilograms. We're using rollers that have 150 million kilograms as their base. No, yours is 200 million. Yep, 200 million kilograms is the base weight of these. And when you activate your MWD, it makes it up to 300. So if you want to jump in, I'm going to have you go in hot first, because I know it won't collapse it, and I want you to come back hot.
All right, going hot.
Yep, go in hot and come back hot. And the reason why I'm having him go in hot initially is I know there's not going to be enough mass to collapse it right away. And if he jumps in, the worst it could do is go verge of collapse or critical, and then he would close it when he came back. Since it did not go VOC, oh shit, it did. That it was an undersized hole, dude.
Yeah, that's a rare one. That did happen. We're gonna hold off on that one. That is the problem with rolling unknown holes.
And that is exactly it. That's the reason why you want to have control from the start, so you know. All right, I'll find you a way out. And that's also why you put your eyes in the system that you're going into, because he can cloak right now and stay hidden, and the scout can find a way out for both of us.
And exactly, and I could scan my way out, because if you look at my fit, if you're looking at the stream, I have a set of probe scanners on my fit, right? You see that? Right here. But this Timbus is going to be a lot slower than his Astero. It can scan its way out, so you don't lose 350 mil, but it's not, it's still slow as fuck. So, in general, but that is the problem. Derek's absolutely right. You won't control from the beginning, so you don't have to deal with stuff like that.
And that was a an undersized hole, where I was saying about where the initial mass is 1.8. I think it's 1.8 billion, but it just the numbers are so finicky in this because they say 100 million kilograms and stuff like that. Well, could have, and it's just a very, very small probability of it happening. Whereas then, if he would have done that and it was any other hole, so that was the low end of a undersized hole, that was the smallest it could be. If he'd gone in with anything else and he did not have a hick, he'd have to go back to it, because when he came back hot, he would have only put 500 million kilograms back through it, and there'd be at least 100 million left over. So he'd have to find some ship to put it back through. He could not take the rolling battleship back through it because it would have gone VOC. And I mean, it is inevitable. You're going to roll yourself out. I've done it a few times, not very many. And that's even with the routine that I have. I rolled our high sec 8 times today.
Yep, 8 times at least.
And didn't have a single failure. So it's just finicky. It's the random chance. And this was the undersized. So he got rolled out. And usually you would just have the scanner find him out, and he'll either park it whenever he gets to high sec, or just get a route right back to us, because since we have a high sec, we can now roll our high sec to get close to him. Yes. You can just look at that by looking up the identifier of our wormhole. If it's an even numbered or even class wormhole, C2s, C4s, and C6s, I think C6s. C6s might only have one. But C2s and C4s have 2 statics. They would always do. C5s and C3s and C1s only have 1 static. You're talking about a connection that will always be present in that wormhole. When the wormhole collapses, whether through mass, end of life, I guess those are the only 2 ways it would collapse, you're going to have maybe 10 to 30 second time where there's nothing that's populated yet, but then a new static will pop up in the system. It'll show up as a new signature, WQL 9040 or whatever, and you'll have to scan it down, and it'll be of the same nature that the last one was. So if your last static was a high sec, and the next one will be a high sec static as well, with the same general mass limits of it'll be a large hole or a small hole, whatever is your static.
And it'll just be a different system.
Correct. Well, yes. By the size, a D364 is going to have 2 billion mass that can go through it. Our high sec will have 2 billion mass that can go through it. When you get into some of the other higher class wormholes, you're going to have 3 billion mass holes or 5 billion. And that's where they use capitals to roll those, which are typically C5s and C6 wormholes.
So in general, the static is on top of that. There is with the hole, there is, like you demonstrated before, what got me rolled out was you can have either a oversized hole, you can have a mid-sized hole, or a small or an undersized hole, right? And in general, the mass is generally the same, but there are differences based on what size wormhole it is in relation to that mass. Whether it has a little bit more than 2 million. a little bit less than 2 million, so on and so forth. And when it comes to hull control, like we mentioned before, you want control from the beginning so you can really know what you're dealing with, because rolling unknown holes becomes, it opens the opportunity for mistakes to happen, like what happened here. We underestimated the size of the hole because we didn't know how much mass had already been put through it. But say you're running a hole control up and you pop a fresh hole, you know roughly how much that is, and the chances of getting rolled out, if you know what you're doing, are pretty minimal. But on an unknown hole, then it becomes a lot iffier, because it's in one of 3 stages, and it could be at either end of those 3 stages. Like you could have a hole that was stage 2, but like a little bit more mass, and it goes crit, and you don't know that, so you put, like we did there, a fat, and it goes dead. You see what I'm saying?
I think that was a Raven that I saw earlier trying to roll it then, because that's the only thing I can think of that would have made it stage 2 after those Lashaks. Unless the guy just jumped through with his MWDs running.
It could happen. I mean, like, he might have been trying to roll our hole, seen activity, and fled. I mean, that happens all the damn time.
When he jumped in, he rolled our high sec leading the system.
Really?
Yeah.
When did that happen?
That was our first JITA connection we had today. This is when all this happened this morning. He jumped in through this hole that we just got rolled into and jumped into JITA and collapsed that hole.
He must have been running through every hole with this prop mod on.
That's the only thing I could think of, because our hole wasn't even stage 2 yet.
I wonder if he was doing it for a reason, or if he was just, I don't know, screwing around or something. Either way, screwed with our mass. But I'm about to get off pretty soon, though. It's getting late here.
Okay, that's a C6. We don't want to go there. So we're going to have a static to a C2 here, and we'll just go through that, because the chances of it being a high sec or low sec static are like, it's definite. You're going to have a high sec or a low sec static with the C2 for the most part. It could be null. I'll take that back.
But C2s are much more likely to have a high sec static.
Yep. Same with C1s. Actually, I think every C1 I've been into has had either a low sec or a high sec. I don't think I've seen one with a null sec yet. I'm sure they're there. There's 500 of each wormhole, so except for C6s. All right, give me a minute to jump into this C2 and scan down our exit for you. I don't think you want to go into either of those C5s. They are capital holes. Oh, actually, that'd be perfect to show them what a capital hole aura looks like. So I'll get
that is a good point.
Or we can warp you to one.
Just warp me to one. Warp me to one. Like 10 off of it or some shit.
I just jumped into the C2. Let me scan this real fast. Oh, Jesus, I lost signature. This one will have a high sec static and a C3 static.
C2s, C1s.
C3s aren't bad either, though, because they only have one hole.
That is true. Basically, any of the lower class wormholes are the easiest to defend in general.
And there's a very big reason for that, and it's simply because you can roll your hole with battleships. C1s, you can't roll your hole because, well, you can, but you have to have like 50 cruisers, I think. It's kind of a pain because they're medium-sized hole. And the mass limit, you can't put a Higgs rig on a cruiser and jump it through their mass or through their holes. C2s, C4s, C3s tend to have 2 million mass limit holes, which means a single battleship can technically run it after passing through back and forth 4 times.
And on top of that, the main reason that's really easy to defend the low-class wormholes is that the enemy can't get capitals into them unless the only way they're going to get a capital into your hole is either they're in your hole and they build one in your structure and then they undock it, like you have a trader that does it, or you have